Welcome everyone to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host Sean Game, alongside my partner Jack Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If I had the chance, go check out our website justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at justsayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. Week 1 is in the books.
Week 1, man.
Great week. Fantastic week. Better week 2 because it means that there's more football coming at us, which you gotta love.
Yep.
Before we jump into it though with a Thursday night game, what are your thoughts about last week and reactions? Any surprises you just want to mention before we kick off into a great one?
Yeah, man. I mean, there were 9 games that were one possession games, so we got a little spoiled last week, especially even last night. You know, Seattle, Denver, everything went down to the wire. So what we're looking for really this week, man, is now we know what some of these teams are actually going to be looking like. Yep. And I mean, the biggest surprise definitely the Giants pulling off a win in Nashville was definitely one for me, but. I mean, I got to say, there were a couple of other games for me that I'll let you go, but I have to say, there's too many good games last week.
Yeah, there were a lot of great games. Obviously, Vikings dominating, Giants getting the surprise win, the Steelers, and the Bengals just missing a ton of field goals was a huge surprise.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, the biggest surprise to me was the Indianapolis Colts Houston Texans game. I really did think it was going to be a blowout game. We talked about it in our blowout segment for our Sunday Superflex episode. It wasn't. And it was a tie.
Highest spread of the entire weekend. We talked about it going in 8 points.
Yeah. And
Colts should have walked away with it.
I don't know. Maybe the Texans should have walked away with it. I disagree. But
you know, Baker, his home reunion got a little spoiled. Didn't get the chance to beat Cleveland Browns. I was
home
shocked.
reunions. Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson last night. Brandon McManus, huge miss in Seattle. It blew everybody away in the fact that we all thought that Russell Wilson was really going to go in there as more of a revenge game. But also, we also had the 49ers playing the Chicago Bears in what was pretty much an on-field monsoon.
Yep.
And I got to say, I think that next week, now we've seen evidently what we've been waiting for all summer. What do they look like after the preseason, after the training camps, with these depth charts? What are these teams going to look like? And there are some teams last week that just dominated, but it was very close for a lot of these games.
And going into that question of what will these teams look like, I think is the perfect segue into this Thursday night football game.
Yeah,
this is a huge trade for the Kansas City Chiefs as they host the Los Angeles Chargers. They traded Tyreek Hill in the offseason. A lot of people wondering what is that team going to look like? What will the offense look like? Will Patrick Mahomes do well? 5 touchdowns in the first game of the season against the Arizona Cardinals, who just didn't seem to play defense. But what are your thoughts going into this game?
Yeah, I feel like the last 2 years we've been able to talk about 2 a year of these, Kansas City versus LA Chargers matchups, and we've gotten spoiled the last years with Justin Herbert versus Pat Mahomes, high-scoring matchups. It's going to be a big one. No Keenan Allen in this game. No, no number one option for Justin Herbert. But like Sean said, Pat Mahomes is technically, even after throwing 5 touchdowns, still getting into it with his first option, Juju Smith-Schuster. He's still number 1 on that team is going to be Travis Kelce. But there are, I feel like every time we talk about this game, we talk about the amount of weapons that both of these teams have on both sides of the ball. But I definitely want to talk about, you were talking about off camera about the offense. How is the Chargers' impact right now? How are they going to be impacted without Keenan Allen?
I think it's obviously a big impact. That's the go-to guy for Justin Herbert. Mike Williams is still there. Obviously, they have Austin Eckler, who I think we all want to see get a little bit more involved in the offense. They weren't really running the ball as well as people were thinking.
Could be a 10-target game for him next week.
Yeah, and that's what you want. He's probably the best dual threat running back that there is right now in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's not named Christian McCaffrey. And I feel like while they utilized him a lot, he got a ton of looks, he got a ton of carries, et cetera, et cetera. They just never really got him going, and they controlled the game because Justin Herbert controlled the game against the Raiders, and then Khalil Mack shut them down, which is why I'm wearing the Danielle Hunter jersey, because I think what's really going to come out of this game is defense. We saw Patrick Mahomes go off for 5 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Arizona Cardinals weren't there to play. The Raiders were there to play. The Chargers defense was ready. Khalil Mack was the guy who ended up stopping the game for them, won the game for them when the Raiders were trying to make their semi-late game comeback towards the end there. But the big question now is, can Kansas City answer the Chargers offense? Trent McDuffie going to the IR, their first round pick. He's going to be out for the next 4 games. They played really well. George Karlaftis, you were talking about off camera, 6 passes from the rookie. That's great. That's exactly what I want to see.
They're going to need people to get after Herbert. I feel like you're saying it's just like, and Kansas City got Eric Reed now, who was kicking field goals last week, and he kicked the kickoff through the uprights. It's a safety. They got some crazy talented guys on Kansas City, and they're playing at home. favored by 4.5. I mean, do you like them by 4.5? Do you like them enough that I feel like because with defense it comes down to the last two of the 4 matchups we've seen between these teams in the last 2 years have come down to one possession. Still high scoring, but I mean it could be different this year. I don't know exactly where they fall, but I think Kansas City would need to get a bigger lead.
I think for some reason and we're definitely both more comfortable with not Kansas City, with the Chargers defense by a long shot. But just something about them that seems more solidified than what Kansas City is able to do.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to the quarterback situation. We know that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be there to play. We know they're going to be able to put up points. And as you're going into this game, I think this is going to be a one-possession game. I think this is going to be a really close game.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go opposite here. I'm going to go with the Chargers because I do think that the defense is going to be what's so important. We saw a great first game from Patrick Mahomes, 5 touchdowns, and he'll continue to throw many touchdowns. He'll probably throw for 4 in this game against the Chargers. And Justin Herbert will throw for 4 at the same time. But I do think that at the end of the day, if you had to pick between these two defenses and which one's going to make the play when it matters, you look at Joey Bosa and you look at Khalil Mack and you look at Kenneth Murray and you say, I feel a lot more comfortable and Derwin James with this defense than when you look at your Chris Jones and your George Karlaftis of the Kansas City Chiefs defense.
Yeah. And I mean, when it comes down to that, I feel like that kind of it's on LA to go on the road, like you said, on like these guys like Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. But for me, it just has to be that statistical output that they, even Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who we doubted, for the last couple of weeks, last couple of seasons. You good?
Yep.
I know. Well, that's what we thought. We thought he was gonna choke this year.
We thought he was gonna choke this year. Got 2 touchdowns.
And now last week, me and Sean were watching these games and we're like, he's actually getting involved. You know what I'm saying? They have Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield, who's also a great running back. I feel like he's going to get involved a little bit. But it is, I think, the Chargers,
12 rushes for 60 yards.
I know.
He was the guy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He got involved as a guy you wouldn't expect as a rookie to, and I think that's it for me is always really Andy Reid will be so creative and always have a game plan ready for a defense like that. I think at home in prime time on the short week, he's gonna try to break out something. But I do think it's gonna be close. I feel like it's gonna be a closer matchup because of the short week. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, no. I think this is gonna be. I ate my words with this when the Rams and the Bills played, but I do think it's gonna be 42-35 kind of game. I think that once these offenses get going, they really start to get going. And you mentioned the 2-2. We've seen that Mahomes does have his biggest struggles against the Chargers, albeit he has a lot of wins and he puts up a lot of yards, touchdowns. He just seems to struggle a little bit more than he has. I think this is a chance for them to really jump on them, get 2 division wins back-to-back for the Chargers, one at home, one on the road. All of a sudden, you're looking at this. And I have a question for you as I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
Do you think that the winner of this game ends up being the winner of the AFC West?
I feel like the second game between these teams is going to be the one that determines that. But this is going to set the narrative for if Pat Mahomes gets beat by Justin Herbert, we're going to be thinking of Justin Herbert kind of on this different level, and we'd kind of lower Patrick Mahomes in the sense where we'd say, he had the 5 touchdowns, and if he doesn't have that again, if he loses to Justin Herbert twice, you could argue that the Chargers have the divisional dominance, but I don't believe they're at that threshold just yet. Kansas City, this has been their division for the last 10 years. They have done everything they can to put things around Mahomes. Juju actually looked great last week. Travis Kelce looked great. But I think that it goes down for me, the creativity of the offense. I like the young defense. I like, what they're able to do. I feel like Kansas City last week showed me a lot more than I expected. Yeah. I expected them to go through some kind of growing pains with the change, losing Tyreek, but they're still getting everybody involved. And I think that, as I said, that is going to go down really to the end at the end of the day with coaching. And I think that even though I like Brandon Staley, I think that Andy Reid is still like the Goliath in that operation. Between him, he's Brandon Staley's still David.
All right. I mean, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I didn't
tell me if I'm wrong.
I can't say that you're wrong because I do think that you have your Andy Reids and you have your Bill Belichick's in the coaching and Sean McVay's and then you have the tier below that of the next group of coaches, and so you're absolutely right. there is a tier level with the coaches. It goes from top down. He does always comes up with these incredible offenses. They always do a lot of different things. They'll send you a lot of emotions. We saw that last week. We're seeing a lot of different guys score. We're seeing the same guys still find ways to score. Travis Kelce and that kind of stuff. But for me, it's their first home game, and there's a lot in the 5 touchdown game, and I don't think it's incorrect to choose Kansas City. Like,
I feel like neither of these teams are incorrect. I feel like even we have been debating who is going to be the one at the end.
And for me, I just think the biggest factor is like there is no Keenan Allen. I know we talked about it off camera. I told Jack that Keenan Allen to me is one of the big it factors, and that's why Kansas City will win. But the more I was thinking about it, I like the defense, right?
No, absolutely.
So I will lean with the Chargers. I like them.
I like it.
I like
you know
it,
what I'm
dude.
saying?
I
For
love
me,
this Thursday
I
night
feel
game.
I feel like Kansas City is safe, but the Chargers, if they are going to hit that threshold, like I said, of the dominance of this AFC West, like you were saying, if they win this, will they be the division winner? This is definitely how you start doing it.
The
by
answer,
beating
by
them
the
on
way,
the road.
to that question was yes. I really do. I really
absolutely.
think that. I think that what we saw with the Broncos was a little bit worrisome on Monday Night Football. We saw the Raiders already lose Week 1. Granted, I think that the Raiders and Devonta Adams, 10 for 141 is exactly what you want to see, and there's a lot more to be building there with the chemistry and how the rest of the offense.
17 targets,
in. Yeah, Darren Waller is seeing more targets in the second half. Those things are going to change about that offense, and they'll be there. But I really think that, and I've said this for years about the Chargers, they're going to be there. But this is the year where I think they can really put it together. And it's not because of the Tyreek Hill trade. I mean, it's partially because that's a huge change to the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. But I think what it allows them is that when those divisional games matter, when all these teams are 12 and 4, or 12 and 3, or 11 and 4, 11 and 3, and those kinds of records we're getting late in the seasons. These crucial early on divisional games are going to be so important. And there could be 3 teams from the AFC West make it, and that wouldn't be surprising at all. But I think it's going to be Chargers at the top.
Yeah, and this is like you're saying. This is so important for this division because with Denver losing, with the Raiders losing, it just becomes this story of like we were talking about. This could be one of the most competitive divisions in football, and the ones that start losing early, there's still plenty of football to be played left to keep going. So I'm interested to see like you said, like I don't know, this is gonna set a real statement to see what these teams are gonna look like. This is how like we always see teams in prime time step up, and you're like, okay, and they're in prime time, they're on a short week, but they had this great game plan. I feel like both of these teams are gonna come with it. Like I look at the 54.5, and I'm like, I'm going way over on that. Even with the good defenses and the potential I like, I think that they're going to be at fast pace. There's going to be a great fantasy game too. Like we have, a million fantasy guys.
Patrick Mahomes, Juju Smith-Schuster, not Keenan Allen, but you're going to
Mike
have
Williams
Travis
is going to get
Kelce.
involved.
Mike Williams, 2 for 10. Question for you: over under 75 yards.
I actually like the over on that because of the injury to Kansas City secondary. I do think they're going to make some sort of an adjustment. He's a big guy. He creates a lot of space for himself. I don't think 4 targets will get him where he needs to be. But as we saw last week, they were kind of ahead. They weren't really in a huge situation where they needed to pressure and throw to him. This week, no Keenan Allen, high-octane offense on the other side of the field. I think 75, he's going to be needing big plays. We're going to need to see him on the goal line. We're going to need to see him go for those big sideline catches that he made, last year, and a couple of years ago when he had a double-digit touchdown. So I really also love Jalen Guyton. I have to say we saw a little bit of him last year, and last week, oh my God, last week he had a great touchdown, crazy pass by Herbert, but I mean he's going to be an up and coming guy. If you're looking for a guy not to pick up just yet, but this week, but maybe in a week or two, keep an eye on Jalen Guyton. Watch how he does in this Thursday night game because he's going to be a deep threat. If Allen's hurt for a while, Jalen Guyton's going to be Justin Herbert's second guy.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Him, DeAndre Carter, Trey McKitty, a lot of guys that he's going to be having to pass to now that Keenan Allen has the injury. But that's all the time we have. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And go Bolts.
Yeah, go Chiefs. But thank you guys for checking us out. Thursday night, week 2. Got a whole lot of other videos coming. Sunday night, Superflex coming out Friday. We got the Monday night video coming out on Monday. Check us out bi-weekly on every week, Just Saying Football on YouTube, justsayingfootball.com, and Just Saying with no G, WJS on Instagram for all your video, article updates, and don't forget to follow.